Hello and welcome to your last and final webinar in the EIMG Pro Training Series. In this session, we will cover professional boundaries with patients. By the end of this webinar, you should be able to explain professional boundary limits and areas of violation, and apply professional boundary principles to contextual situations. Within the EIMG program, we refer to the program participants as patients because these individuals are referred from a healthcare practice. Working with patients requires higher levels of awareness and practice of professionalism than when working with general clients. These individuals are only considered patients within the boundaries of the EIMG program. Once they complete EIMG, they may transition into other roles, such as that of a client. Boundaries are the limits of appropriate professional behavior of an exercise professional when working with patients. As an EIMG professional, you must always act within the best interest of your patient and not allow personal interests or personal gain to impact your patient or your relationship with that patient. When boundaries begin to blur and behavior goes beyond ethically professional limits, the patients can be harmed. Establishing healthy boundaries with patients will help improve the therapeutic relationship between you, the EIMG Pro, and your patient, and possibly improve your patient's health outcomes. We hope it may help them with their lifestyle behavior change. You can also think of professional boundaries as the space between your power and your patient's vulnerability. Your power is your access to the patient's confidential information and your particular role in working with that patient. You want to think about your professional boundaries as the zone of helpfulness. You don't want to be over or under involved with your patients. Think of encouraging and supporting, but not rescuing patients. Help give them the skills needed to successfully achieve their own goals. When professionalism is breached, we sometimes will call this a boundary violation. When professionalism is breached, we sometimes will call this a boundary violation. These violations can start small and then get bigger and bigger, sort of like a slippery slope. You might notice when the patient isn't really the focus anymore and you begin to think more about your own needs and wants. Be aware of potential warning signs to help protect yourself from potential violations that may begin to occur. We will cover these areas in detail in a moment. So what are the most common areas of boundary violation? They start with breaking confidentiality. Disclosing any information about patients is a violation. This includes disclosing information about one patient to another patient in the class. Beginning a social relationship. Social relationships, both romantic and simple friendship, that have begun because of previous therapeutic relationships may cause harm to patients. Confidential information that was obtained within the professional relationship must remain confidential and could impact that social relationship that you started with the patient. Self-disclosure can be a boundary violation. Some amount of self-disclosure by exercise professionals is expected, as it can help with the reassurance and building trust and thereby improving the therapeutic relationship. However, disclosing irrelevant or intimate information will not help that professional relationship and is an area of boundary violation. If you are about to disclose personal information, stop and think, will this information help my patient or is this about me? If it won't help the patient, don't disclose. Accepting gifts from patients. In most cases, exercise professionals should decline gifts that are offered by patients. Token gifts may be accepted if it will enhance the therapeutic relationship. Again, think, will accepting this gift help the patient? You also need to be aware of your facility's policy on accepting gifts, as these policies may give you additional guidance. Special treatment. It is essential to maintain established conventions of treatment and not provide special treatment to certain patients. For example, working with patients outside of regularly scheduled class time or giving extra attention during class while overlooking other patients would be considered special treatment. That special treatment may be an indication that the professional boundary lines are beginning to blur. Offering or providing money, food, transportation, etc. It is reasonable that exercise professionals would want to help their patients. When meeting with a patient who is suddenly in need, human instincts may be hard to ignore. However, it is not acceptable to offer or provide tangibles, such as food, money, or transportation, to patients. This really needs to be avoided. Again, know the policy of your facility and possibly have a referral network to help patients in need. Finally, the last area of violation would be sexual misconduct. Entering into a sexual relationship with any patient is unacceptable, period. It takes practice to create and maintain professional boundaries with patients. Lapses of professionalism do happen, and there can be degrees of missteps. For example, disclosing some personal information because you were having a bad day may cause less harm to the patient than breaking confidentiality. However, all blurred or crossed boundaries should be taken seriously when working with a clinical population. When thinking about professional boundaries, often awareness is key. Here are some simple questions to help you become aware of your personal and professional boundaries. Is this in my patient's best interest? Whose needs are being served? Could this action affect my services to the patient? Could I tell a colleague about this? Could I tell my spouse about this? Am I treating the patient differently? Is this patient becoming special to me? If your decision or actions are not in the patient's best interest and your needs versus your patient's needs are being served, then the boundaries may be violated. If the patient's services could be affected, the patient is becoming special to you and you are starting to treat the patient differently. This is a sign that your healthy boundaries may be in danger of being violated. Finally, if you do not feel that you could tell a colleague and/or your spouse about an issue, that is the exact time to take next steps, as boundaries may have been crossed. Awareness is the first step to creating and maintaining good and professional boundaries. Let's say you've either blurred or violated your professional boundaries. What do you do next? It will start with, first, recognize the warning signs to help ward off future issues. Are you showing a patient favoritism? Are you drawn to a patient? Commit to self-reflection and examine your professional boundaries with patients and make sure that you are offering them the best care. This includes taking care of yourself as well, because when professionals begin to show signs of burnout, ethical misconduct is more likely. Make sure to monitor your own personal health and stress and ask for help if needed. Next, know your reporting structure at your fitness facility. If you witness other exercise professionals beginning to blur the lines of professionalism, discuss the issue with them or with their supervisor. If you witness sexual misconduct, this must be reported immediately. Finally, find a mentor or coworker that you can discuss potential issues with to help support you in your work and professional development. Having a sounding board can help shine the light on possible blurred boundary lines and help you adjust to future violations. Over the next several slides, we'll review this list that will provide you with 13 simple rules for keeping and maintaining professional boundaries. These have been adapted from the Acquired Brain Injury Outreach Service. Do not seek out a personal relationship with your patients or with their family, friends, or support network. Have a balanced work and home life so your personal needs are met outside of work. Do not have a sexual relationship with patients, their family, friends, or people in their support network. Do not introduce patients to your own family, friends, or support network. In other words, don't invite people home for family gatherings, etc. Work and home should be kept separate. Do not socialize with patients or their family or friends outside of work hours. Do not supply or use alcohol, drugs, or other illegal substances during work. Turn up on time for work. Don't arrive late and leave early. People notice, including your patients. Organize your commitments and travel so that you have plenty of time. Do not borrow, ask for, or lend money to patients. Do not talk about your personal financial or other life problems with patients. Do not ask for money, gifts, or special favors from your patients. Do not allow patients to drive your own or work motor vehicle. Do not give advice outside of your skills and expertise, such as financial, marital, relationship, or medical advice. Refer to qualified professionals for any support needed. Respect confidentiality and privacy. Do not discuss information about your patients with your family or friends. Do not disclose personal information, yours or other workers or other patients. For example, phone numbers, addresses, email, or marital information. Do not criticize, complain, or discuss issues relating to other workers, staff, or your employer with your patients or their family. Work-related issues and complaints need to be dealt with in the workplace. Finally, we've provided you with an at-risk checklist for you to review on your own time. It is located in your EIMG Fitness Professional Training Manual. Keep this list by your workstation and review it periodically to help with your awareness of your professional boundaries. Now let's review 3 possible boundary dilemmas for you to consider. There may be different solutions for how to handle the situation. We simply want you to think about what you would do for each dilemma example. Dilemma number 1. Earlier in your day, you received some disturbing news. When you come to class, no matter how much you try, you are still human and you are still upset. Your class asks you, "What's wrong?" What do you do? Dilemma number 2. One of your patients is very kind. They offer to help with the other patients in the class with all sorts of different things. They provide support for everyone else, and they also seem to receive support from others. This person simply seems to be a good, kind, and loving person, possibly different from other patients you've worked with before. One day, you realize that you have been giving more of your class time to help this kind patient than the rest of the class. You realize this could lead to a boundary violation down the road if you continue the behavior. What do you do? Dilemma number 3. A patient in your class seems rather listless. At the end of class, you ask the patient about their health and well-being. They answer that they had not had anything to eat that day. They ran out of money that month because they got a speeding ticket that they had to pay. They also say they don't have any money to buy food for tomorrow either. How do you handle this? We hope those boundary violation dilemmas possibly made you think. Now, the rest of the slides are simply the references that we use to support the webinars and the creation of the EIMG program. If you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you for joining us for the EIMG Pro Training webinar series.